Before we start about the question last time, what happens if you neglect teachers? Well, I don't think it's proper to give a sense of guilt about it, but it is not beneficial at all. For example, at school, if you make your children neglect your teacher, then it's actually the child's loss. If the child doesn't have respect for the teacher, then they do not study, and therefore the child will not want to learn from the teacher at school. We are not only learning education or knowledge, we are learning personality, and also we are learning the social life and how to live on. But if the mothers or the power try to control the teacher, then in that way your child might get a proper protection, but the child will start thinking that my parents are of higher status than my teacher, and my parents have more money than my teacher. In that way, the child will not learn how to live his or her life properly, and the child, because of the bad thoughts of the parents, the child will also start growing the sense of ego, and also the child will start not respecting the principal too. Then principal also then there's no need to send the child to the school, and that's a very shallow thought of capitalism, and the teachers will not be left with many choices unless until they make a big promise to themselves, or if you show the child a manner that's without respect or manners, then child will not learn what to do. And nowadays, if the parents have a little money, or if they have become rich all of a sudden, because of this Kim Young-lat, the law, also, in my opinion, if the parents try to bribe the teacher, then if it's worth more than $2-3, I think you should take them to prison. If you want to take something to the teacher, that means you are expecting something in return, and also because I keep giving money to the teacher, you start having doubts, because is it because of the fact that I don't give money, or is it because I stopped giving money that my child is not being treated well? And most of the time, because of forced attachments, the mother does most of these acts, and also because they start having a little money. So education, I think the person who tries to bribe a teacher, you should be in prison soon, and the child should also be expelled from the school, and the child should go through psychological treatment separately. And likewise, the teacher and the law, if you neglect it, and if you don't respect the law, and if you don't respect the teacher who speaks about the law or teaching, then it's in fact your loss, because of your growth of ego, and also you will have a lot of suffering. And that's why when you prostrate in front of a teacher who has practiced enough, you don't know how cumbersome it is for teachers to receive it. The teacher does not think that I owe this respect, but the teacher actually thinks that I hope it helps the child a little or it helps the student a little. So if the teacher receives the frustration, it doesn't do anything good for them. If the teacher thinks that I owe this frustration, even to the slightest bit, then actually the teacher is making a sin. And also, sometimes when I see the person who is wishing to prostrate just for the sake, or even if they doubt if they should do it or not, then I tell them not to do it. It's also because they seem to have a little ego, and also in the end they will be backbiting against. I never ask someone to prostrate to me because I am a little higher status. Maybe I'm a little taller than you, but there's nothing I have that's better than you. I want to give up myself to attain a lower status. So, but I have no wish to be better. I have no wish to go to higher status than you. So. It is not the power, and also, and also, um, and also we do not the teachers, they do not have more special power of the teaching. Knowing the right and wrong, that's the power of Buddha's teaching. And if you do not respect the teachings, then you'll be born in a place of illiteracy because you never respected the education. If you don't respect the education or knowledge, then you will not learn and you will not study. And also, we talk about the three vehicles. They are actually the respect and teacher, and also sometimes. And also, teachers are no way special than others. Like even me, if I don't eat a meal, then I become so hungry. So, and also there are some people who says they find me so difficult. I'm not like a math formula that it's difficult for you to approach. It's because of you. If you think that I'm difficult, you should just have a little respect. That's all. I eat the same meal and I go to the bathroom same like you, so there's no reason for you to find me difficult. And also, that doesn't give you the right to treat the other person without manners. But we normally have basic regulations to follow. Someone said, I'm usually good with instant reaction, and before someone came to me and he was good at fighting. Like he used to be like gangster who used to participate in Choge sects fights, and he came to Yasu one time and he asked me, oh, let's go have a drink, and I said, you drink it. Well, of course it's wrong for me to say you should drink it, but I should have said that well, I don't drink, so you drink if you want to. But I thought he was very cocky, and so I just responded that way. And also there are some sattvas who come here and stop coming, and And sometimes when they see me, they run around, and I deliberately go to the corner where they're running around, and then we meet, and they say, "I'm really sorry, I was busy," and well, I tell them there's nothing for them to feel sorry. It is actually their loss. I'm asking you to come not because of my benefits. Well, if I want it for my benefit, then I can also do it for more showman. I can show you more showmanship, and I can make more people come. Well, I can do something so that like even I can do something that's so charming that a lot of people could come more than Shincheonji. And I heard that there are about like 1,000 people in Yasu, and also Kuwonpa. There are about 200 people, where they're nothing in compared to my organization. And once I start charming you, then while meeting you individually, and if I tell you a few words of your future accurately, then I can make sure that how to follow me for your life. Well, I can do that, but I'm not doing that. That's against Buddha's teaching. So if you don't come here, then it is not of my loss, but the only benefit that I get from here is I offer you the Buddhist teaching. When you come here, I don't collect money from you. Have I ever said it's $1,200 for coming here a year? I heard in America for practicing of Avatar, you have to pay $2,000 for beginners, and that course is about $400. And you follow that a lot, where there's nothing but you follow. So Korea is kind of weird. I heard in Korea, if the cloth is cheap, it doesn't get sold. Amongst OECD countries, our clothes are the most expensive ones. So because of our vanity, people sell things with brands that get sold a lot. But if it's cheap, then it doesn't get sold. So I think it's because of the complex for the ego. So you tend to buy when it's expensive. Someone said, my clothes worn out and you should not wear it, but it gives more standards to, well, it's my saying, but the more worn out my clothes is, it gives me more standard. When I was sitting inside the car of our Namchan, whose car was making so much noise, and someone asked me, why do you sit in such a car? And I said, it feels me more comfortable sitting there. So, well, I would avoid the car so if there's a broken down that could cause accident, I would avoid it. But it feels more comfortable driving such a car. If I sit in a car that's so expensive, then I feel so uncomfortable, in fear that it could hit somewhere. Well, a lot of Westerners, they know about the car so well. Was it Audi or Benz? A lot of people know about those cars so well. And they even know the price of the car so well. And also, if I drive in such a car, then people who knows about the car so well, they could also say, the more expensive the car is, the more power they have. But that is not the thing. That's not the way to see the world. That's because they're seeing the world with the wrong eye. Well, a monk who is driving a car that makes a noise, it is not a wrong thing. Well, I have a little back problem now, so it feels a little uncomfortable nowadays, but still it's good enough. Well, it is not the we can say out that it is a sin. We're committing a sin if we do not respect the teachers, but it doesn't matter if you don't respect the teacher, if you curse, but if you don't respect, because it's actually you're committing the sin for yourself, but you're not committing the sin to others. If I open a rice cake shop in Yeosu, and if there are also people who say there are also people in Yeosu market that your business doesn't go well because I start selling rice cake, but because of the shop, 18 people, 18 old people, they are making their living. I've never eaten a piece freely. So that was one of the questions, but I'm telling you once again that it has got nothing to do with teachers. So whether you curse or whether you do anything, that's actually your problem. Buddha said once, with the offering, one person came and criticized Buddha. So Buddha said quietly, if you came out to offer with some food, and if I don't receive it, then whose food does it become? And he said, it's mine. And if you curse me, and if I do not respond, then whose curse does it become? It becomes my curse. Then why do you curse yourself? Why do you curse yourself? There's no reason for you to do it. And so normally, even in Yeosu, there is a need for people to close your mouth. There's something I heard from Yeosu mayor before. In 6 months after they become the mayor knows knows about the house so well, because they keep calling every day and talk about so many things. So in 6 months they have so much headaches, and so I want to ask the Yeosu mayor now, is it the same nowadays too? It is bad thing. There's another question in your other teachings. Well, when you practice the samatha and vipassana, as much as samatha is achieved, you're able to see the world truly, but well, it's actually the same thing, but vipassana is just like we clean the mirror, clean. Samatha is to practice, but without reading the sutras, after achieving samatha, you are not able to go to vipassana. It's just like without the voidness, after samatha is practiced, your vipassana is practiced. So you need to have the voidness. So after samatha, whether it is while practicing the samatha, if it's the middle way, you have to learn the middle way. So that's why I'm asking you to memorize it. Because you're not able to memorize it, even when you're practicing samatha, you should memorize it and practice the vipassana. So I answered the questions. So where are we now? If we analyze the above stanza in a philosophical way, you're not able to see the Buddha's personality properly, who has the power to analyze the wisdom completely, because we have not achieved the voidness for Shravaka or self-enlightened. one because we have not understood the fully egolessness and also selflessness of phenomenon. So in a simple way, we can say it is not the stage where the sense of bodhisattva is attained. So it is only about the insight that there is no I. So it is not the stage where it is achieved or completed. So our bodhisattva, the wish to have the bodhisattva and also the practice of bodhisattva through 6 parameters and also the completion of bodhisattva. As I explained to you in 3 different ways, amongst the 3, Aranka is a stage where even the aspiration for the bodhisattva is not yet completed. So in my consciousness, the ego that arises that only has been erased. Although they have attained the egolessness, but they have not understood the selflessness of phenomena. So because there's no I, and since there's no I, we understood that there's no I, but the selflessness of phenomena, in other words, inner consciousness and also Atman. It is not that you have completely understood that there's no I in this phenomenon. The egolessness itself is the agony. So it is only the stage where in your consciousness the egolessness is there, but in unconsciousness the ego is still there. So when you're sleeping, the dream happens in your unconsciousness. So even you have achieved the aranka, if you sleep, then you can then the ego could also arise. So with the sense of bodhisattva, and if you practice the 6 parameters, then even in your unconsciousness, all of them, if you have, for example, if you have the sense of parsimony through the offering, the seed of parsimony, it should also disappear in the unconsciousness. Right now, we say and we feel that we want to contribute to others, but so many years we have accumulated the karma of parsimony. So things like I have like this much money and I'm going to live until 82 years old, and until then, will it be okay if I contribute about $300? If I contribute $300, then I need to maybe I need to save some money for this month's living allowance. So there's something like your unconsciousness has come to your consciousness. So it's almost like there's a lump, and if you put hot water, then just like tea is brewed, it's coming out of your unconsciousness. However, for example, those people who have achieved a aranka, they have not yet completed the selflessness of phenomena. That's why they are stubborn, and bodhisattvas should be free from it, and that's for that you have to practice. Becoming a bodhisattva is a process. Bodhisattva is a process of removing those things, and that's why you have to keep practicing. The things like for Hinayana, you should not talk about how to become a bodhisattva because it will only scare them away. I'm talking about Mayana here, and I am actually treating you with a great respect. I'm treating this is an opportunity out of nowhere. That's why you should not live your life in a very petty manner. So if you know this properly, for the good of many other sentient beings, it's a project of throwing myself out. So it's almost like getting rid of egolessness and also the selflessness of phenomena. But the life we led so far, we have lived in order to live up to our stubbornness and also for myself. And we have lived our life in a selfish manner. But now, all of a sudden, for the Mayana practice, we are asking you to give up yourself. And this is almost like a spring. So if you pull, it go back to its own original state. It keeps being repeated. And also, while watching those teachings, there's another thing that I think. In thought, we practice the sense of offering, the act of offering, but in your practice, it doesn't follow. So in your unconsciousness, it doesn't really follow. I went to a Chinese restaurant before, and there was someone who were frying an ice cream. So inside it's ice cream, and outside they were putting a frying. It was like a fried ice cream, and there was. It was quite funny because outside it's hot and inside it's cold. And so it's almost like we have packed the Mayana, the offering, and but if you open it, it's just cold inside. Because you have thought about contributing, you feel like you have contributed. And so you feel like you have actually contributed when you haven't. So even the Christians, for the whole week they commit sins, and then on Sunday they go and say, oh, they apologize for things they have done. For that, you should not do for a week. The whole week you have backbited others and you have taken other people's money. You might ask, when did we take other people's money? But our manner about life is that we are actually taking someone else's money. But for that, everyone go and say, we are sorry and we redempt for things we have done. Imagine how sad Buddha was. Buddha asked you to redempt for what you have done, but in the situation where Buddha is given, or in the manner that Buddha is taught, you're actually prostrating, wishing something, wanting something. So the place for you was to give up your greed, but in fact you are actually wanting more. This is something that's very sad. So imagine how difficult it is to get over the greediness in your mind and in your heart. Although it starts popping up in your head that keeping up your selfishness and also greediness and helping others is good, but still, the inside and outside is very different. It's a big swearing thing if you tell someone that your inside and outside different. But a saint does not have a greatness even outside and even inside. A saint wants to help someone even internally and also in outside actions. He wants to help others. But us in our mind, we want to help others, but inside in our mind we are actually wanting things for ourselves, but outside in your behavior you act like you pretend that you are helping others, but there are also so many people who doesn't even pretend that they're helping others. So away from your greediness, if you don't think for others, if you don't have selflessness, then there's no law for law to become a saint. It's just that you're being greedy. And for that, although we meet many people, the things that makes us very, very difficult is that a lot of people, whatever they do, things that's hidden inside, it's mostly that he wants to earn money for a long time and he wants to be happy and for the good of their child. There's nothing other than that. Even religion or whatever it is there's nothing more than that. Even you, although you're sitting here like this, once you start complimenting your child, then you have no end to this. Oh, my child's this and that, and but there's nothing special about it. If others say, oh, the child was very grand, then you should say, oh, there's nothing. But because others don't say good for your child, you keep talking about it. And also, since others don't compliment your child, you divert the topic and you compliment your child. There's nothing special. And even if it's a genius, there's nothing special. Even the genius, they have gaps or lacks in so many other things. Even Einstein lost his home address all the time, so he would write a post-it about for his house address. So if you find your husband coming back home well, then your husband is not a genius. Isn't it? Even when we see that you don't lose your house, you don't forget where your home is, and if you come back home safe, then you're also just an ordinary person. So there are not many extraordinary people.
무의식에서 본래 안 일어나게 하는 것은 특별히 내가
The agony not arising in your unconsciousness is not something that arises intentionally, but it just arises. If I tell you a simple example, if someone curses you, then you get angry. It's not like you want to be angry, but it just comes out all of a sudden. It's almost like that. But not knowing that it arises from your unconsciousness. But things like your anger and also the desire to sleep and also the hunger, it's an all long habit. Did someone teach you how to give birth after marriage? No one taught you. It's almost like that in your unconsciousness. A child is born, and when you breastfeed them, from the moment that they are born, they start sucking the breast. It's not like they were taught in school. Even the kangaroos, when they are this small, they are born from the womb. So the pocket itself is the external womb. So they climb to the pocket, and they're really this small, and they go inside the pocket, and they suck on the breast. They cannot see, they cannot hear. How can they do that? That's the natural instinct. So even before I spoke about this while drinking tea, in order to commit suicide, they jumped out of the bridge. But when they are falling, if don't faint, they survive. But if they lose their consciousness while falling, then they die. But if they do not faint, then from the moment that they sink in the water, they try to come out alive. But there's no one who actually tries to commit suicide. At the time, it does not act in a conscious manner, but it happens as a natural instinct. The moment they are in the water, they try to hold on to something. That is natural instinct. That's the instinct to survive. Before, there was a night ferry that traveled between Busan and Yeosu in the night. And I think a lot of Yeosu people know in one night, it sunk in the water in the night, and a lot of people died. And so when they went to save them, about like 10 people, they were clinging to each other. At the time that they hold on to something, then they do not let it go at the time of death. That if even at times like that, if they do not have the sense of or natural instinct like that, then like Buddha, even if you are facing that, you will push others in order to make them leave. But this kind of level, Jesus, although he knew that he would be hung on the cross, although he was asked to run away in the night, he did not. But without this kind of ability, it is not possible. So even people who believe in Christianity, even in Korea, they are actually the people who believe in Jesus, the Jesus sacrifice, but mass believe, and also if you believe that for your selfishness, if you just commit whatever sins that the Jesus has sacrificed for, and also if you behave in a way that Jesus has not taught you, then that is very selfish. When Jesus was on the cross, it is not that he was walking somewhere, but he went there out of his will. But he was given an opportunity to run, but he did not run. But instead, he was up on the cross. And what does that mean? To you, the ego and also agony that you have right now, if you throw that away, you can actually listen to the God's saying. I feel like I'm a priest now. The priest he said he will be the head monk here, and he asked me to come and be the priest there. Maybe I should change once. I think it will be on news all over. If I go to church and be a priest for a month. So before, in your unconsciousness, it is nothing to do with you raising the thought of agony in your mind, but in your head, the natural instinctive, the karma, we have to change it.
남에게 베푸는 것은
But things like contribution, Buddha even still contributed to others. So in his head, in his subconsciousness, it's only there. But repeatedly, even if when I dream, it's going to be about offering. So in my mind, the parsimony and also in the actions,
여러분이 내가 뭘 행동했네 인색함이 하나도 무의식 상태에서
it's the stage when there is no parsimony even in the subconsciousness or unconsciousness, and that comes.
하는 것이거든. 그래서 부처님께서도 보시바라미를
And that took him about 500 lives for him to offer in that way, the wish to offer.
그렇게 된다.
He said when after practicing for about 500 years, it was possible. And now when I think about it, I think maybe it will take about 500 years, no, 500 lives and deaths. So it doesn't come easily. So, even when I keep practicing it, there are times when I feel a little bad about it. So it's not like, oh, I feel bad that I have to get money, but when the time person asks about something, I felt that the person came at the time when I was talking about something important. That person doesn't have supernatural powers. How would that person know if I'm talking about something important? That person came at the right time, at the time when he was hungry. That kind of thought arose in my head in an instant. That's the wrong thing. So when you practice things like that, a common person say when you're in that border, you don't really think about it, but they will think that, oh, I'm not really miser in any manner, but that means you're not having a self-introspection. If you look at it, then even in your unconsciousness, you have to look inside your head and you have to take out everything and throw them away. Even the sense of bodhisattva, and you have to show them, and whatever action or even in a dream and all your actions and even every thought of yours, you have to think about contributing or offering to others. It's also possible to think that you give up all your organs and at the time of your death, but the way to bodhisattva is also mentioned. When you talk about something, then it's very scary, so they get distant from it. So they say, so don't talk about it, but I think you are a great person, so I'm talking about this. So today I have given you I have given you all the respect that I can. The practice is mentioned even in Diamond Sutra and also the way to Bodhisattva. Even at the time when the whole body was being cut off, they thought about no I and no ego and no greed. There are times when such bodhisattvas arise over time to time. Even Dalai Lama, a lot of people, a lot of Tibetans, they died for about 60 years. Starting from 59, they are being chased away. But he never criticized China. If you know the true value of it, after Jesus passed away, Rome, they took the Christianity as their national religion. That's because of his sacrifice. If that doesn't happen, it's not going to happen. It is something that's too far. is the story a little too distant?
예? 예? 근데 내가 이제 항상 그거
When I
얘기하는 게
talk about these things, I always speak in this manner. If it becomes your habit, it's very easy. Things which are not habitual is very difficult.
그래서 이게
And that's why we say the practice is to make it your habit.
습관들이다.
And that's why even the practice of bodhisattva and also offering, first you have to do it deliberately. Later it's going to be your habit. If you don't do it deliberately, it doesn't happen.
그건 한 단도 못
I don't think we can even complete one stanza today. This,
이것은 그들의 삶의
because this is more strong than their samadhi, because it is because your samadhi is stronger than your wisdom. This is very interesting story.
사마타와 비파사나를 통해서 이렇게 하면 그 소승 아라한들이 사마타가
When you talk about samatha, the samatha is very deep.
사마타가 깊은데 그 대신에
Samatha is very deep, but instead the vipassana that observes all sentient beings, it's weak.
그러니까
Samatha, if the samatha is very deep and vipassana is weak, then the agony that arises in a conscious manner, it gets stopped. But
이게 법안은 안 끊어진다. 더 강해진다.
the selflessness doesn't stop, but instead it gets stronger. And that's why we ask you to practice them together.
이제 한국 같은 경우는 자꾸 사마타임만 하려고 남방에 가서 배운 사람들도 자꾸 사마타임만
Even person who wants to practice samatha, they
질문 얘기
even in Southeast Asia, they want to practice only samatha, but you should not do that. So as I said,
하고 기억하고
you should practice the samatha and vipassana together, and you should study them together. But if you don't study them together, and if you don't have a proper opinion, then eventually you will not be led the right way. If you observe properly, then you can see. So we say samatha and vipassana together all the time. If you go to Songgang Monastery, then they talk about the Venerable Uchan story, and those I think are stories about similar to here. If you look at this through the wisdom of other saints, the Shravaka and also the seven-light one, unlike the other bodhisattvas who have attained the voidness through the logical, based on the logics or the
아라한카를 이룬 것은 아직 공성의
or compromise,
깊은
they are not able to see the nature of Buddha, who has actually understood the nature, the mind that has been polluted.
소승을 지금 데려가다
So those people who practice Hinayana,
남방불교를
even if any go and feel them or have experience with them, when they talk about the dependent arising and also the absence of I, but in total, it's almost like they talk about the dependent arising, but but it's for sure that they're a little weak when they talk about the voidness.
얘기를 해보면 그래요.
Because the samatha is strong and vipassana is weak, it happens so. So the observation, when you say the vipassana is weak, so it's almost like the legs are not of the same strength, two legs. So there is also a problem. There is a problem, but we cannot say it is wrong. It is just a stage of entering.
잘못된 거냐면 잘못된 건 아니에요. 들어가는 과정이에요. 들어가는 과정이다.
Although the bodhisattvas can see the model of Tathagata, but they are not able to see it accurately because they are slanted towards the wisdom and their samadhi is weak.
수행을 하는 거예요.
People in the bodhisattva's stage, although samatha is weak, but their vipassana is very strong. So if they have the sense of bodhicitta and
이렇게 해서 부처의 불성을
understanding the voidness accurately, it's not very clear.
이게 분명하게
So, in other words, it's a little vague. Why is it so? Because the reflection on the mirror, when the mirror is very clean,
상이
it shows clearly. But
확 비치는데 아주 명료하게 비치는데
if the mirror is not very clear, then it is a little not unclear.
크게 비치지 않아요.
So, bodhisattvas, when they practice,
수행하는데 이 대체적으로
they need to have the proper perception front, and because they also do the vipassana and also studying the suffering of mankind, it is also essence of Mayana. So although while looking at the voidness, it's not very clear.
에서도 희미하단 말이에요. 확실히
And so that's also one of the flow.
그래서
So the other method to make up for both two of them, that means so you have to practice samatha and vipassana together, but do the samatha first and vipassana follows. So before the samatha,
그 뒤에 하라. 사마
you have to follow the disciplines and you have to learn Buddhist teachings and you need to understand them and also remember them precisely. So you need to have the proper perception and also a proper thought. Then it becomes a samatha and finally it continues.
결국은 개정의 사막이야. 개정의 사막이란 말이야.
It's the reason why Tathagata could see everything is because he had both samatha and vipassana equally. It was spoken such. So Buddha
부처님께서 이제
Buddha achieved both samatha and vipassana in an equal manner
지와간이 균등하게 다 이루어진 분이라서
because it was done equally.
이루어진 분이라서 여기에
So in reality,
그 실제
it was portrayed out as Buddha.
그대로 다 드러나는 분이다.
So if he have the wrong understanding, then we could also emphasize on Buddha in one aspect, which is wrong. So you need to have both
개정의 사막이 다
to be called Buddha. It is a difficult content, but you can interpret in two ways. First, although bodhisattvas can see and understand
보고 인식할 수 있다 하더라도
the tathata and but
끝나고 나서도 그 상태를 유지하는 건 아니라는 말로
that doesn't mean the stage will be continued even after the ending of the dwelling in tranquility. However, Buddha is forever in dhyana stage.
그러니까 이제
Therefore, Buddha is always in tathata stage despite the dhyana and samadhi.
진여 본 모습 그대로 이제 이게
Bodhisattvas, when they are in the stage of
그게 흐릿해져.
the dhyana and samadhi, then they are in the actual stage. But when they have awakened from this stage, it becomes a little vague.
있을 때는 되고
On the other hand, for Buddha, you cannot distinguish whether he is in the stage of dhyana and samadhi or he is in the real world. So we also call it he's always dwelling in tranquility.
금강산맥 그렇기도 하고 산맥이 그렇게 된다. 금강이라는 건
For him, it is the same.
산맥 상태 있을 때는 됐다 안 있을 때는 흐릿해지고
whether it's a diamond samadhi,
지금 내가 생각을 하는데 전부 다 똑같이 일어나고 있어. 우리는 앉을 때 다르고 또 행동할 때는 다르고 그러잖아.
or in any other stage, but normally bodhisattvas, when they're in the samadhi, they are in a tranquil stage, but when they are away from it, then it's a little different. Well, it is not our talk, but bodhisattvas, when they are in the samadhi, they have the desire and also wish for the betterment for the sentient beings. But for us, we do not have that kind of desire, and for our mundane everyday life, our heart changes. But bodhisattvas, when they are out, when they are not in the samadhi state, then their sense for the thusness becomes a little vague. Second, although bodhisattvas are aware of the thusness, we can also interpret that they have not clearly understood the thusness. So it could be different in the different stages of the bodhisattvas, depending on their position, the samatha, the depth of the samatha, and thusness, the sense of tranquility is different depending on the depth. So in the beginning state, it's not there absolutely, but like Avalokitesvara, if they're on the 10th state, then even the Samantha, they could be in the similar level to Buddha. So when they have attained the 10 kinds of wisdom or insight of Theravada, they could change their body form as freely as they want, and they can be reborn, and for them it's more natural than our daily meal. That always happens in the state of samatha, and since vipassana is deep, they are reborn for the humans, and they can practice their wisdom. That's because the potential of the agony is still left. So, although you are at the 10th state of the wisdom or insight of Theravada, you still have the very minute agony, and although you are at the you have achieved the 10 kinds of wisdom or insight, Theravada, mostly our normal people cannot feel, but very, very minute agony arises, and the bodhisattvas are aware of it. And they are also aware how deep are they in. And so the beginning stage, the bodhisattvas, they are not able to understand on the second stage because they have no idea about the content. So the bodhisattvas know each other, so the same stage they understand. But those people who are on the 10th stage, they are able to understand the beginning stage, but the beginning stage they cannot understand the 10th stage. And also, you are even if you reach the 10th stage, they are not aware of what say Buddha is, but Buddha knows. The agony, even the very minute agony, it disappears on the person only if you become Buddha.
보살 찍어봐도 구분이 안 돼. 근데 어디서 구분이 되느냐면 부처의 입장에서도 보고
the point where it is not yet completed, only Buddha is able to know. I bet when Kim Il-sung gave to Kim Jong-il his throne, when he was going through many different political practices, I think he also knew that there were many points where he missed out, and also he was also fooled by Kim Yong-sam and Kim Jong-il many times. People working for Kim Jong-il, when he reported to Kim Jong-il, he thought everyone was living a life in wealth. So Kim Jong-il always loved hunting. So when he went to hunting, it was always said that a lot of people live well because of him. But suddenly he changed his plan and went to some other village. And he met a lady there, and she said, he went to some other village, and one lady, Kim Jong-il, went to there and asked for a meal, and she cried, and she cried in the kitchen. She was crying in the kitchen when he asked. She said, "I have no food to serve you," and he was so angry, and so he checked other villages, and he found out that there were so many people who are starving, and so he decided to have a conversation with South Korea. And while preparing for it, our Kim Yong-sam president, in order to host him, he was preparing so much for it, but he had heart attack and died. But I'm sure that even for Kim Jong-il, he was not a great father, and Kim Jong-il was not nothing compared to his father. And so even the stage of bodhisattvas, no matter how much you practice, you will not know. Therefore, even this you have to completely remove. On the other hand, Buddha doesn't have even the very minute agony, and he has completely removed even the potential. So when you say you have achieved the omniscience, that means even the very unconscious agony is not there, even the very minute ones. So there will be no way that he will be entering into the samsara, the world of samsara again. The thusness that Buddha is aware is complete. So bodhisattvas, they are not able to see the thusness or tathagata in a complete manner. So they're not able to see something that's not completed in a clear manner. I got some rice cakes in the morning. Someone gave a rice cake for the 100th day of the child. The name was not Jinok, but it was Shayna, and no matter how much I thought about it, I could remember, but it seems it's the baby's name. It's delicious. Shall we eat together? If it's delicious.
같이 먹고 할까?
It's sweet.
달짝지근하네.
If you have achieved the power of samatha, just like the fire does not get swayed by the wind, your heart does not get swayed
그러니까
with the discretion.
이루어져서 구동이 되면
When there,
바람이 하나도 없을 때 등불이 안 흔들리잖아요, 그죠?
just like that, your heart
마음이
does not shake.
그러니까
Here, the discretion, we have to understand this clearly.
해야 됩니다.
In Korea, we are not able to understand this.
요것을
Yeah.
모델가 항상
So there's always a problem. Here, the discretion
아집에서
is the
좋고
discretion or distinguishment of understanding due to my ego. But
법에 관한 분별은 그건 분별이 아닙니다. 법에 관한 것은 이게 이
but distinguishing or differentiating for the teachings, it should always be very clear. But in Korea, we say do not even do that. So the distinguishment of the law or the teaching is not very clear. So it's a problem with the method.
안 되는 거야. 그래서 여기는 분별의 바람에 의해서
So here is, as said, the wind of the differentiation.
되게 분별심이에요.
Because it's not there anymore, it does not move anymore.
그래서 건강에 여여부동하다. 불치어상 여여부동하다. 불치어상이라는 것이 뭐냐면 그 상을 취하지 않는다는 것은 분별상이거든요.
There's nothing to distinguish anymore, and that's why it does not move.
분별하는 것이 없어져서 여여부동하다. 갖고 갔다서 부동이다. 부동기다. 여여라는 것을 진여라 그래요. 갖고 갔다는 것을 진여라 그래요. 여여부동이다.
Also, with the power of vipassana, you can cut off all the wrong practices. So, with the proper perception, the agony doesn't get cut off. Because there is a habit, it continues.
그래서 계속 반복을 한단 말이에요.
But with the samatha arising, and it becomes silent, and if you practice vipassana for the proper perception,
관을 하면
then strongly all the attachments disappear.
크게 집착이 딱 떨어져요. 그래서
So you can understand that when you analyze, there is no form, so there is nothing eternal. Look at it, Muslim people, IS,
회교도들 같은 거 IS 그 사람들 있잖아요.
strong God,
강력한 신을 그게 아의 마음이
they're changing the ego to the form of Allah. And when you change it to Allah, what happens? You have strong attachment for that, and something that goes against it, you have violence, and you commit violence and you kill them. And that's the very basic theory or ideology behind all the religious wars. But through vipassana, if we understand that things like that doesn't exist, and whether it is a god or money or power, if there is nothing that which my ego can get attached on, if we understand that there is something that just arises with the relation and disappears, then there is no reason for us to get angry about the object because of our attachment. And the anger itself is the hurt which is shaking greatly. And if you have such anger, then you're in fact harming others.
무슨 가족계가 아니고
she's very embarrassed that she has to leave now.
그래서 하는 시원지.
So with the strength of vipassana,
관의 힘으로 모든 것을 갖다 최종 이 관이 다른 말로 이
with the achievement of samatha, if practicing vipassana, it is wisdom.
그렇게 보이는 것이 지혜란 말이야.
Then this wisdom,
그러면
in Sanskrit we call it prajna.
하라고 그 부모에서는 프라자냐 그래.
So diamond prajna,
깨지지 않는 반야로서 건강 반야 바람일로서 건강 반야 바람이다. 건강과 같은 부동의 사마타의
the wisdom that's
지혜로서
almost the same as the diamond
차에서
diamond prajna.
건강
Diamond prajna, you have to cut off all the agony. That's the teaching of Buddha. So you have to break off the agony, but breaking off the agony, it is not something that you cut off with a hammer. But just like a lightning, just like it's hit by lightning, it breaks up all of a sudden. The reason why people are scared of Mayana is because something that I've been so stubbornly clinging onto, they're trying to break it. That's why people get scared. And so when it breaks off,
꽝 하고 깨지면 근데 우리 한번 봐보시오.
look at it. We have something called power, but power does not even have a form. So although we say present is only a mere namesake. If you become present, then nothing special happens. So a lot of people have gathered together and they have made something called present. And if you observe that in detail, then it is something very futile, and also you might be shot to death. And also you could have a lot of greediness, and that could cause a lot of problem. And if you have that kind of thought, then your desire to become present might stop all of a sudden. It's almost like just like a tree that has been hit by lightning is going to end, and you will be, and also that could catch fire. So with ignorance and also negligence, if you just look at it,
그럴듯하게 환상으로 보여.
then you might have great desire. But if the samatha is already inherent, and if you have vipassana, then you don't even want to lay your hand out for it. It's very futile.
흠한 게 그지 없는 거야.
Then your attachment will end.
그러면 번뇌가 집착이 또 벌어져 버리지. 별로
So the values that you think is very precious, talk about it. What are they? I will analyze them for you here.
한번 얘기해 보시죠. 내가 여기서 분석을 해줄게. 그래야
Something that is not even eternal, you want it to last forever.
것을 갖다 영원했으면 좋겠다고 착각을 하고
And that's why President Park Chung-hee,
박정희 대통령 같은 경우는
he even passed away trying to make the presidency last forever. If he understood that there is nothing in this world that's forever, then he would have not done it. But although you say it's eternal, you don't want to give it up. So you keep pursuing one year more and another year more. Even for you, although you say you want to die sooner,
그냥 빨리 죽었으면 좋겠다는
you want to die when you see your grandchildren go into elementary school. And if you have lived up to that time, then what do you say?
살았단 말이야. 이제 그 다음에 할 말이 없잖아. 그럼
You wish to see your grandchild go to middle school. Then, and again, you want to live up to see your child go to university. And and then you want to see your child get married, your grandchild getting married, and then you want to see the baby of your grandchild.
이 그러면서 뭐라 그래? 정손주 태어날 때까지 살았어. 중손주만 보고 죽었으면 좋겠다. 그래서 정손주
And then now, what do you think? Do you think it's better for them? It's better to have the great grandchildren soon or later, slowly.
그러니까 아이
So it's actually not true when you ask for great grandchildren. When they are born, then what are you going to tell them?
말했더냐 그런 생기니까
So we live a life that is very futile.
험한 가운데 살아야 돼. 그걸 믿고 산다고 이 몸뚱아리도 그게 이게 그냥 흩어지면 진짜 화장해놓고 나서 이거
The attachment for your body grows, and you should not get old, and you do exercise, and you eat a lot of good things.
그렇게 하는 사람은
But then, how about
만약에 근무를 하면 어쩔까?
working
그냥 시체 들어가서 그냥
in the place where cremate the body?
때만 몇 개 훅 나가지고 이 절구에다 넣어놓고 막 콩콩콩콩 해가지고 그냥 반은 내버리고 보재기다 싸가지고
After that, when you receive the body that has been cremated, there's actually nothing. That's just
또 스케트거리를 갖다가 또뭐 딱골당 속에다 넣어놓고 또 무덤 안에다 넣어놓고 이게 아버지 무덤이라고 스케 무덤이라고
it's just some leftover of limestone, and you put it to some other place,
아버지가 스케가 아버지는 아니잖아요, 그죠?
and you say that's your dad's or your parents' lime, but it is not actually so. It is actually the lime that was inside your dad for some time, isn't it so? Then only your greediness will reduce a little, but
종교를 가지고 기도를
you
하고
keep.
열심히
But even the people who practice religion, they say through the practicing of religion, you can also achieve some of your greediness. That kind of thing. People who speak to people who come to believe the religion.
전에 어떤
There is a lady who used to pray very hard but never really come to monastery, and one day she said she's going through a very difficult time because she bought land and she was having a great loss, and so she was like hoping for Buddha to do something for the land.
그래서 내가 그랬어.
So she's praying very hard. So I could not tell her, but in my heart, I was thinking that those people who invest on land, I don't think Buddha will help, and Buddha doesn't have the strength to help in that manner.
땅 투기를
Those people who knows how to make money with the land, they are actually better than Buddha in that regard. So before, when people were investing their money on the land, she came to the monastery and was frustrating very hard for about a month. So I was thinking maybe I should just have some time drinking tea with her and discourage her. But
안 그러면 그냥
because she was really so sincerely, I left it.
너무 간절하게 해서 냅뒀어. 그러니 아마
But it's one of the two. She
망했거나
could have lost everything, but she could have earned some money.
좀
But even if she has earned money, what happens?
벌어도 어떻게 되겠어요?
With the money that she has earned in that manner, drinking, spend the money drinking, also giving the child, or if, but I'm sure that she's not going to use that money for the good of other people. So even if she has earned that, just like money that you win from lottery, and in the end you face great suffering, just like that, the conclusion is loss of everything. So, but I have never prayed for the ruin. So I don't have so much strength. So even if I pray for things to go wrong, it cannot go wrong. It is just that she has made her decision and that outcome is like that. So I was just thinking, if I should ruin it by telling her or not telling her. But then if I tell her things like that, then she would blame me, saying that because of my prayer, it got ruined. So I just left it because I don't want it to be blamed. I've also become cunning nowadays. If before I would have called her and asked for tea, and for about 2 years I would have taught her a lesson. So here is that we are not thinking about going backwards.
그 말이야 우리가 거꾸로 해야 생각을 해. 전도라는 것은 남해 가면 전도가 있어 맞다. 마을 이름이 전도가 있죠.
I think in Name there's a place called Jeondo.
그건 맨날 뒤집어져서 사는가? 그러니까 이 전도는 전도 몽상 그러잖아요. 전도에다 거꾸로 되는 생각이라 영원한 것.
So it's almost something like it doesn't last forever, but you want it to last forever. So just because you are given birth to a child, you think it's your child, but it is not actually your child.
쥐자식이라고 생각해. 쥐자식 아니야?
If you think it's your child, then
내가 욕을 한마디 해볼게.
eventually later in your life, you will start feeling bad for the child.
닦고서 미역국 먹었나 그 소리 나오네.
You will start hating the child. As spoken in 월등 Sutra, with the samatha, if your mind doesn't, with the strength of samatha, your mind doesn't move, and with vipassana, your heart becomes like a mountain. Therefore, you have to practice both samatha and vipassana. Through vipassana and samatha, you can enter the way.